Hello. Hello, Kim.
Hi, Sophie.
Here we are again, a different day, a different dollar. We're going to continue with my chats where you have no idea what I'm going to ask you. So it's working out okay so far. What I wanted to talk to you about today was your songwriting process. Can you talk me through, share with me what your inspiration is for your lyrics?
Before I answer that, can I just say that I've still got a dodgy eye.
You've still got a dodgy eye, you rock and roll.
I'm going to see the hospital tomorrow, so hopefully the next time we meet I won't be wearing the sunglasses.
Yeah. You could always wear a patch, like...
I could always have a parrot on my...
You could, yeah. I was trying to think of the
on my shoulder
that had a patch, I can't think.
And a wooden leg.
Did he? Okay, we won't go there. Stick to the glasses.
But anyway, because I don't like wearing sunglasses indoors, but the lights are very bright in here, and I've got a sensitive eye at the moment, so I've got to wear them. I haven't got a choice.
We excuse you. Sick note received.
Okay, fine. Right. So, what was the question? Sorry.
Here we go. Can you talk through, share with me your with regards to your songwriting, the process and your thoughts that inspire your lyrics? Right. Okay. I've got a list actually here of the songs that are going to be on the first album. There's 13 of them. So let's maybe talk about that. Yeah. Okay. I've heard
in relation to some of these songs, shall we? And I can try and remember. Okay. Well, I think the first point is to say that a great number of the songs are inspired through personal experience. Usually, it could be a good experience, but it's more likely to be some form of negative experience, because these are the experiences which tend to occupy our minds the most. So I think most of the songs that are about my personal experiences would be about things that are maybe negative, but possibly have a positive outcome.
Okay.
It depends on how you look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, my belief is that everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
So if you have a negative experience, it's there to teach you something.
Yeah.
So don't let it fester. Just try and think about why that may have happened, and then you can work through it. Because there's always a spiritual reason for everything. Yeah,
and I think that's a very healthy philosophy. Sometimes it's easier said than done, but you've managed to create some lyrics and some songs because of your experiences.
Yeah, let's talk about. I'm just thinking of one song, which is called "Sign on the Wall." Now, sometimes in the evening, I go out for a walk, and I live in a nice rural area with trees and a wood and a lake nearby. And I walk, and sometimes ideas come to me as I'm walking along. Similarly, when I'm driving, if I've got a long driving trip, I sort of float off a bit to become detached from the driving experience, although still fully in control. And ideas for songs will come to me. They might be the most ridiculous subject, like I'll go past a fence and I'll start thinking of lyrics about the fence. That's a bit crazy. I don't write songs like that, but the ideas just sort of float into my mind. As far as Sign on the Wall is concerned, I was out one evening and walking quietly along, very peaceful, and the title Sign on the Wall kept coming into my head, and so I started to evolve a song based on a sign on the wall. Thinking, well, what's the sign all about? What does it mean? And over a period of time, the song evolved. And the sign on the wall actually has a very deep spiritual meaning to it, which is really fundamental to everything that we talk about in this first album, which is called Awaken We Are Gods. And so it evolved that way. Another way is I could be in there, I shower every morning, and very often a line or a phrase might come to me. I think, crikey, that's good. Mm. And so I let me tell you a story about this. About 10, 12 years ago, I had a girlfriend, and I told her that, very often I get these ideas for a song in the shower, but I had nothing to write down the line, because the line, one line might be the key to the whole thing. It might be the opening line of the song, and then the rest of it sort of comes from the first line. But I'll be in this shower, soap everywhere. I've got nothing to write on. So very often what would happen is I'd have to run downstairs. I'd get out of the shower, run downstairs, water coming off me, everything getting wet, go into my office, grab a notepad and a pen, and then write it down. Then I'd go back upstairs to finish the shower off. And if I'd forgot to take the notepad with me, I'd then get another line. I think, and you can just imagine the situation.
So you're repeating it.
So I was given this gift for my birthday, which was an underwater writing kit. So you could actually write messages or lines underwater. But this one, you could stick it to the wall of the shower, and so if the idea came or the words came, straight away you could write it, and it was the most brilliant present.
Mm. I suppose it's that, or she gets in with you and makes notes. I'm surprised you didn't think of that, Kim, if I'm honest. And I'm not
saying nothing.
I'm not volunteering.
I'm saying nothing, but that was a damn good idea.
Yeah, okay. I wonder why she didn't think
Didn't happen.
Yeah, I bet.
Didn't happen.
I bet.
Didn't happen. But, you can't be interfering with the writing process.
No, you can't. So the sign on the wall, talk us about that song specifically and the lyrics.
Well, really, it's the song is in the third person. So the singer is talking about a person who has lived on Earth, and they've got to the point where they've woken up to the reality of life on Earth, and their conclusion was that it's a world of illusions, and they wanted to escape, if you like. I mean, escape is one word you could use, I suppose, to escape into a world in a higher level of consciousness, a world where things are wonderful, where everybody engages with others in a positive way, a world where there's no fear but only love, a world where there is abundance everywhere. Nobody's poor, everybody's living the abundant life that Jesus came to earth to teach us how to live the abundant life. And so the sign on the wall is on his house, and I don't actually have the phraseology of the words that were written on the sign, but the indication is that this guy is not living there anymore. He's moved on. He's gone to this wonderful place that he always wanted to be in. Now, you could interpret where that place is in many different ways. If you take, and the line I use to explain that is, he's gone to his place in the sun. The sun, not necessarily meaning the physical sun, but the spiritual sun. So the literal meaning would be gone to his holiday home in Cornwall or Spain or wherever. That's the literal interpretation, but that's not really what I was intended. So his place in the sun is it could be back in heaven. He could have, no longer be in the physical realm. He could have gone to heaven, or he could be in another place that's still on earth, but where everything is as he would want it to be.
Okay.
Some sort of, I don't know what we can call it, but, a place where everything is wonderful. And that's really what I meant in the song. That's what the lyrics were intended to.
So was this a place that you'd walked to before, or walked past before?
Well, actually, I had created in my mind a place in Cornwall that's on a hillside that leads down to a private beach. And in my mind, I'd built this building on the side of this hill, which was like a weekend retreat. And I'd invite all my friends and all my musician friends who would come over. It had a big hall in it with a stage at one end. All the instruments and everything would be set up there. So we'd just come in at the weekend. We'd play the music, jam, have a great time. And this building was really quite something special. It had been designed by an architect to my specification, probably worth 10, 15 million pounds, this building. And that was my place in the sun.
But the sign that you're referring to in your opening comments was a real sign rather than a metaphor of something imaginary. It was a real sign that you saw.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think, if you've walked past that sign before, what was it about that day that inspired you to make that object, the sign that you'd walked past several times before, into a song and inspired the lyrics on that day? How does that work from a songwriting perspective? What happens differently that day?
I didn't actually see a sign which sparked off.
Okay.
It was a metaphysical sign.
Right, okay.
It was a spiritual sign, indicating that the person that lived in that house, which was no longer there.
Okay.
In other words, if you want to know where I am, not go next door.
Yeah, okay. So on that day, something different happened inside of you, I guess, that inspired you. Okay. And is that quite typical with the process of your songwriting and your lyrics? Something will just, you said it happens in the shower. It's obviously happened when you were out walking. Is that a normal form for you?
There's other ways. I could be practicing the drums and I come up with a rhythm. And then I'll start humming. And something would come. You get a tune, melody. And that could be a way that a song emerges from that. That's happened quite a few times. And other ways, it's just I might think of another one. I was watching a movie. Which song was that? That was Sleeping Heart, which is a sort of a ballad.
I think I've heard that one, haven't I?
Yeah, Sleeping. I think you might have done.
Yeah.
It's sung by Aurora.
Yeah, I think I have. And if I remember, I've heard of the ones I've heard. I really like, and I'm sure that's one of them.
Yeah, it's quite a popular one. That. Well, that was watching a movie. That really affected me. It was so sad, a very sad movie. And then when the movie ended, the titles came up when the music started, and it just went wham. It was a wham moment. And I thought, there's a song there, because it resonated also with a personal experience that I'd had in a relationship. And the story in the movie, it was a series of 3 movies, and my experience were very, very similar. And so it was it was like a trigger. So watching the film and that particular scene right at the end of the movie triggered something in me.
I don't know why, but
it was an emotional trigger.
I don't know why, but I sense I know what film you're going to say. But go on, what film was it?
It was a series. There was a series of 3 films made. The girl with the
dragon tattoo.
Isn't
that weird? That's the one I was going to predict.
Oh well, obviously we're thinking along the same lines.
When you said, I thought, I wonder if it's the dragon and the tattoo. I couldn't remember the title, but that one.
Yeah, it was the 3rd one in the series, which is the girl that knocked over the hornet's nest. That one, the 3rd one.
Yeah.
The very last scene, where she's in her apartment, and her friend Mikkel comes in to say hi, and he wants to talk to her. He's got very attached to this girl. He got her out of trouble, but she couldn't say anything to him. It was like her heart was completely dead.
Yeah,
there was no emotion there, and it was the saddest when you go back over the 3 films, and you see what happened to this poor girl. That effectively sent her heart to sleep, which is where the title comes from, Sleeping Heart. It really got me. It was so emotional.
It's a very powerful trilogy film, anyhow.
Oh, incredibly.
Yeah.
And that's what triggered. That's where that song came from. That very last scene, and then the music comes in, and it was like,
wow,
wham.
Yeah.
So the songwriting process, let's talk a bit more about that. So the inspiration can come from many different sources. I just might be walking down the street or driving the car, and then suddenly things come into my head. And
I guess they don't all end up on paper, do they? They don't all end up as songs.
I would say that for every 3 songs I write, one will not go forward. It might start out with a verse or 2, maybe a chorus, but then I look at it and think, that's not really good enough. It's not really strong enough.
You're not happy with it.
Not happy with it. So I lose about 1 in 3, I would think. Yeah, on average. I've probably written 150 songs altogether. Although there was a vast period of time I didn't write anything.
Do you want to share with us why you didn't write in that period of time, or when?
Well, it was a time I finished the first band that I started with my friend Philip, who's a keyboard player, was in 1971.
Okay.
When I was 16. Yeah, we were both 16, and we met at a club, and he was playing the piano. And I said, I want to start a band, would you be interested in joining me? And he said, yeah. This was a guy that I met. This is the first time I met him, but I immediately recognised him as being a familiar person, And we both agree that we'd met in previous lives before, and we knew each other very well, because he was like a great friend of mine right from the very second I spoke to him. I thought, crikey, I know this guy, So we set up, we had 2 bands. The first one was called Star Cry, and then that lasted for 2 years, and then the second one was called First Things First, and that went from 1973 to 1981. And we were a semi-pro operation. So we all had jobs, and we gigged, on Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays. Colleges, pubs, that sort of thing. And then we all got married.
Oh. Women.
Life. we all got married. We were all trying to push our careers forward so we could earn more money and buy bigger houses. You know, the usual thing. And so it all stopped. It literally, it all stopped because we all got married at around the same time. We were all about 25 at that time. And it stopped. And careers and family life took over. And it wasn't really until, I mean, I did other things between when FTF finished. I was in a cabaret band. I think I've mentioned that before. I was in a female-fronted sort of soul pop band for a couple of years. It's a cover band. And then we had a reunion, the First Things First reunion in 2011. And we all got together again and we said, well, we need to record all this music that we'd written back then. And that process is still underway. So yeah, but I started on the EL-Lea-Eye-Em mission, if you like, call it that, in probably 2002 it really started. Well, I wrote the first song in 2006. There was 2 songs written in 2006, both of which are on this album. So, but it wasn't until I moved into this property, which had an adjacent building which I could use as a studio, that we started in earnest to record all the 120 songs that I'd written from 2006 to now. And we've spent a year so far on this album. We actually started on the 2nd of September 2024. So we've
so literally a year.
So it is. Within what's it today? The 4th, isn't it?
Something like that.
Yeah, it's the
4th of September.
4th of September 2025. Which is polishing off.
Because the release date is now January time.
January the 9th has been penciled in as the release date. So.
And are you feeling confident with the album so far?
Very.
Good.
I said to my collaborator Joe, we've got to get the music right. If we do that, everything else should fall into place as we want it.
Yeah.
And I'm confident that the music is of a sufficient quality for it to be appreciated on, a large scale.
Yeah, the songs I've heard would definitely, I feel, resonate with a large audience. We have similar sort of sounding music out there now. I think the platform for music has changed in the last 10 years. You have a lot more artists out there. So I think it would, I hope and I think it would slot in quite nicely. But obviously we have to get people to listen to it. We have to get people to know about you.
Which is why you and I are having a conversation.
That's right, which is why we're promoting Kim Andrew Lincoln.
No, we're promoting EL-Lea-Eye-Em.
EL-Lea-Eye-Em. Yeah, and the man behind it.
And okay.
Yeah. But
the man behind the sunglasses.
The man behind the shades in the shower, in the shades.
Yeah, right.
Do you wear your shades in the shower?
I wear shades when it's sunny.
Okay. Just asking, just in case they want to know. You never know.
No.
Thank you for sharing the answers on my first question.
My privilege.